If you have a comment to make, you should only raise the symbol of a hand when the chair asks for comments, and again, you will be invited to speak one person at a time. If for any reason a member has cause to leave the meeting, then they must indicate this to the chair. Please raise your hand to speak before you leave. Whilst votes aren't required at every scrutiny meeting, case law is clear. You are not allowed to vote if you have not heard the full debate. If your screen freezes but you have heard the whole debate, you may use your discretion over whether to vote. However, if you did not hear the whole debate, then you cannot vote. For attendees in the chamber, if you wish to ask a question or make a comment when invited by the chair, please press your microphone, which will turn green. The chair will invite you to speak one at a time. Please wait until your microphone has turned red before beginning. Every effort will be made to ensure that the questions and comments are asked in order of a councillor raising a hand, but we ask that you recognise the complexities involved when we are monitoring both the chamber and online systems. If there are hands raised in the chamber and remotely, the chair will invite members to speak every other. 4 o'clock, slightly after. It's 4 p.m. Can I ask everyone to mute their microphones, please? Officers and guests, could you turn off your cameras? You should turn on your camera and microphone when you speak, but please turn them back off again afterwards. All councillors must ensure that their cameras remain on. Could I ask Democratic Services to begin the recording, please? Prynawn dda pawb, croeso i'r cyfarfod heddiw. Good afternoon. Welcome to Neighbourhood Services Countryside and Planning Scrutiny Committee on Monday, the 13th of March, 2013. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the scrutiny, within the authority. Go to item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any? No apologies received. Are there any declarations of interest, including whipping declarations? Item 3, scrutiny referrals. There are no referrals have been received. And on that, we go to item 4, fleet management and electric vehicles. And I'll pass you over to Councillor David Hughes, portfolio member for Neighbourhood Services.
Thank you, Chair. As you can see, we got a presentation by you one today. A lot of this work have come about. We had the fleet management team, and we went through all our fleet to make sure that we were efficient and that we had the right type of vehicles. And since you wouldn't have been in post, it's fair to say you've done immense work on the vehicles, where we've reduced some of the big vehicles down to smaller vehicles and are much more efficient. As well as that, we've had electric vehicles to replace diesel vehicles, which saves us quite a bit of money throughout the week, where it cost over, I think it was £65 per week on the vehicles when it was diesel, and it's now only £5 a week to charge electrical vehicles. So that's a big saving for the authority. And must give thanks to Welsh Government for the grants that they've given out to help us have these electric vehicles. So I'll just stand over to you, Owen, now for the presentation. Thank you.
Since September 2020. I think I met everybody, but everybody I don't know. Since I started, I looked like Councillor Hughes just said, to all the vehicles. We renew them as well. We get rid of all the old ones, which they were costing more money than what they were helping the services. And I believe we're very efficient at the moment. The slides on. Slides on. First slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So our fleet summary at the moment, we got about 130 vehicles, 90 vans, and 40 HGVs. Up to 95% of our vehicles, they're less than 5 years old, which they quite efficient. They do an average of 60 to 80 miles per day, depending on what jobs are they. We got 9 electric vehicles in total at the moment, 7 vans and 2 tractors. 5 electric vehicle chargers on 3 sites. We got new electric supply at 2 sites, one in waste street cleansing in Unit 20 and the other one in Unit 5. We ordered another 9 electric vehicle charger, electric vehicles, tippers for street cleansing, for waste, and one for fleet to be a first pool vehicle on our fleet. The transition to electric vehicles, not short of challenges, because we'll need to charge multiple vehicles from different manufacturers at the same time, mainly overnight. That's going to require a lot of power. The installation of electric vehicle chargers is not going to be without disruption to the services, but we're going to have to manage at the same time. And also, our electric vehicle charging infrastructure is going to be future-proof because the batteries on the vehicles are getting bigger and the speed of charging is getting faster. For that, we're going to need efficient data collection, mileage of the vehicles, the capabilities, weight, and to make sure that the services then won't be disrupted. Also on-site location flexibility, because occasionally we have to move to places where we park the vehicles, and therefore the chargers will have to be moved in the same time in the future. Also got to keep in mind the options to integrate renewable energy directly into electric vehicle charging, especially if we can produce it on site. So it's going to be free to us, like solar panels, instead of going via the grid. The transition to electric vehicle, the transition becomes easy over time because we got improved options at the moment. What we didn't have a few years ago now is available on the market. We trial new technology in our community, refuse collection vehicles, curbside collection, road sweepers, fully electric with carbon zero pipeline. We invest a lot in electric vehicle charging infrastructure thanks to grants from Cardiff Capital Region and the Welsh Government, and we keep exploring for funding opportunities in the future. At the moment, it's work ongoing at Unit 20 and 20A. We have electric vehicle charging capability for 46 vehicles simultaneous. At the moment, all the cables and the plinths for the chargers are up and the chargers are on site, just got to be connected. So hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll invite you all to opening. And by mid-2023, we will be ahead of most of the local authorities in Wales, and not only with regards of electric vehicle charging infrastructure at our sites. That's where we are at the moment. If you got any suggestions or questions, welcome to.
Thank you, Johan. Do we have any questions, please? Councillor Clive Jones. Sorry.
Good Chair. You've got, according to the presentation, 9 electric charging points in total, and 5 of those on 3 sites, presumed from the presentation. And there's another 9 on order from this month. How many vehicles are now on totally electric, as in from now at the moment? I got a few more questions after that.
At the moment, we got 9 electric vehicles, 7 vans and 2 tractors. We got 5 electric vehicle chargers on 3 sites. One, we got the 2 in Unit 20, 1 in Civic, and 2 in the home recycling site in Dulais. We got vehicles on all these sites. We got another 9 vehicles on order, so we're gonna have 18 the next couple of months.
So that's out of 130 vehicles.
That's correct.
That's correct. How long would it take before all the rest of the vehicles, because ideally the council want to save as much money as this and become more efficient. So the sooner that all these vehicles are electric, the better.
Yeah, that's correct. Ideally, all of them will be changed as soon as possible, but without having a correct infrastructure to charge them, it's not going to be possible because it's pointless to have them parked without being able to use them. So they got to go hand in hand. Fortunately, it takes time at the moment to build that infrastructure. Depends on the power we got on sites. Like I said, we just updated the power on a few sites, so we got additional power. Now we got a grant for 46 chargers, which they will be able to charge 46 vehicles at the same time. Once that's up and running, we can accelerate the change. So all the vehicles coming to end of lease or end of contract hire for the next couple of years, they will be look at the first option to be replaced by electric vehicles. So I'm hoping by 2025, at least half, if not more than half of those vehicles will be electric.
2025.
By 2025.
Yeah. And you've got, am I right, 5 chargers at the moment?
At the moment, yes, only 5 chargers.
How much does each charger cost?
Depends on capacity. So we have the 7 kilowatt chargers we install in Civic, 1 in E20 and in the home recycling site. They're about £800 each. Right. They're not the most efficient one, but it does the job for the amount of vehicles we got at the moment. We also got 50 kilowatts a rapid charger installed by Cardiff Capital Region with a taxi project, which we didn't pay for it, but it's installed in E20 and we got access to it.
So to install these electric chargers, because I note here you've got new electrical supply on 2 sites.
That's correct.
And because you've got the chargers, which I presume take some time to charge, you've got to have a new system. So apart from the 2 sites where that's been installed, how many other sites have you got to have new electrical system? And how much, on average, is that cost?
The supply, it's only on the sites with the most vehicles, like over 25, 30 vehicles. So Unit 5 and Unit 20. Sites like Civic, the health center, and where we only have like 4 or 5 vehicles, we don't need new supplies. The supply on the building should be enough capacity there for 4 or 5 chargers. We need like 70 to 80 chargers, for example, like in Unit 20 and Unit 28. We install a 1 megawatt, 1,000 kilowatts capacity, another connection to the grid, which that will give us sufficient power for those chargers. They didn't cost the community anything because we use grants from Welsh Local Government Association, which they give it to us in 2021, and now we're close to spending it.
You said that by 2025 this will be complete. So you're talking, I presume, 2 years from now, March 2025, all this would have been completed.
That's correct. The chargers should be operational by end of next month, if no other delays. So the target was December last year.
Right.
But due to the bad weather, was frozen and they couldn't finish the civils on time. And then some manufacturers delayed some components of the materials. It was delayed until now. So the charging for 46 vehicles will be operational from next month if no other delays going to come about. And then we're just going to look at replacing vehicles.
Right. But so by the end of this year, for example, within the next 12 months, you've got 9 vehicles. How many vehicles out of 130 will be completed by in just next 52 weeks?
It's hard to say because if you order a vehicle now, it won't be delivered till next year in March, April. Unfortunately, the industry at the moment is very late on delivering new vehicles, especially electric vehicles.
Correctly.
There's a huge demand.
You've got to wait 12 months for an electric vehicle.
We have vehicles, electric vehicles, ordered last year in March, and they still haven't arrived with us. Unfortunately, they was due to arrive last year in September. But yeah, that manufacturer in UK, I'm afraid, and they're all coming from abroad.
Absolutely astounded.
Yes.
That
The demand is huge.
you know, every local authority, every public body, be wanting to do this to save money.
Yeah.
But the industry doesn't seem to be keeping pace.
Yeah, I have dialogue with the Welsh government as well, because they offer us grant to replace 3 curbside recycling vehicles, but the grant was meant to spend by the end of this financial year, which was impossible.
Yeah.
So we have a chat with them to extend to more than 12 months the duration of the grant, so we can purchase them.
Now comes the $64,000 question, which I'm intrigued about. What's the furthest distance each of these vehicles? Obviously, it'll depend on the vehicle. I mean, for example, refuse vehicles, they've got to do rounds every day. They've got to keep up with that 5 days a week. Yeah. What's the furthest distance of vehicles can travel, and particularly in relation to refuse and recycling vehicles?
Yeah, that's the good data collection. It's very important factor, so we don't end up with vehicles that cannot be used, or they are going to cause an increase on our cost of operation. So all the waste vehicles, they travel between 40 and 60 miles each day. We're looking at a range of electric vehicles to at least double that, so we can cut, all the if one night, for example, the power is low or it doesn't charge fully, we still have the opportunity to use the vehicles the following day, so we can go 2 days with no charge. So yeah, the HGV's electric goes around 110, 120 miles for a full charge. Us only needed 60 up to 60 miles per day.
So the refuse vehicles, if something failed with a charger, there's 2 days.
It should be
there, because obviously you've got to keep those vehicles on the road.
That's correct.
At all times.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we went for separate connection from the building for electric vehicle chargers. If something happened in a building and it's a short circuit and the power goes off, the vehicles will still charge independently from the building.
Right. Thank you, Chair. Very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Clive. Councillor Leighton.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask, what if these break down, these vehicles? Is there a process in place? Like if they broke down in the middle of a street in the middle of service? Or would they know through the power that's in there? And
all the breakdowns are similar with the petrol and diesel vehicles, wouldn't be any difference to it. If the battery runs out, the driver will have plenty of notice. When the battery goes down to 20%, will be red lights flashing. The vehicle needs charging in like 20, 30 miles, 20 miles, and 5 miles, so the driver will know. Also, we're looking at developing a tracker system, which will give us information to the back office. So we'll know in office how much battery is left in that vehicle, so we can notify the drivers, like, look, you only got 20 miles, you got to come back to charge. But the vehicles shouldn't operate below 20% anyway, so that the battery should never run out in theory unless the driver and the management system goes wrong, which chances are very unlikely. Just the same chances to run out of diesel, pretty much.
right, okay, thank you.
And all the other breakdowns will be exactly the same treated.
Thank you for that. Councillor Colburn.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just a couple of things. You mentioned that charging multiple vehicles from different manufacturers. So does that mean that each manufacturer has its own connection and they're not interchangeable?
Yeah, it all depends what the vehicle is coming from. If it's a Chinese make, they might have a different kind of. Now the European Union and UK is looking at standardizing the chargers, because about 5-10 years ago, Tesla have a different one from the Chinese manufacturers, from the Japanese manufacturers, from the European manufacturers. So and they all take in different, like they charge, some manufacturers, they limited the charging on 11 kilowatts, some of them on 60, some of them on 70. So you need a performance system that will be able to communicate to all these vehicles in the same time, because we wouldn't, as much as we like to, we can't just buy only British made vehicles or the make we like. So it's going to have to be Danny Siegel, Electra, Maxus. Who knows? Tesla going to do trucks eventually in the next couple of years. So that's why I refer this charging infrastructure should be able to provide charging for all the manufacturers.
Yeah, I'm just amazed, honestly, that manufacturers haven't got together and come up with an industry standard. It's
No.
the
Now they
we've got no control over that, obviously, so we can only buy that's possible.
yeah.
My other question was again regarding the refuse collection vehicles. Now I'm not familiar exactly how electric vehicles work in the sense that when they're climbing hills, do they use more power? And obviously, will the vehicles we've got better cope with some of the hills in the borough? Because we've got some very steep hills.
Yes, and that's why we do trials in our community. So all the vehicles, before it's purchased, we speak to the manufacturer, the dealer, or the hiring company. We don't commit to any contracts or purchase until we actually have the vehicles in our community. Our crew, our people, they get, daily training, and then they can try it on the street. We have several trials that were unsuccessful. For Danny Siegel Collect, for example. It looked great on paper, but when we tried it, it didn't look to work. Same with the road sweepers electric. We have the opportunity to get a grant, but just for the sake of it, it wasn't worth it. The vehicle didn't perform as described. It might work great in London or in flat areas, but when it was fully loaded in low temperature conditions on the hills, like you say, the battery dropped very, very quickly, and it wasn't efficient enough. But vans, vehicles up to 7.5 vehicles and up 7.5 tons, and Electra curbside recycler, they perform well, so we can commit those. We tried them for 2 weeks.
That's great to hear, and it's nice to see that Merth is ahead of the curve on this as well, and we're leading the way. So well done on that. Congratulations. Thank you. That's all for me. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, not only some electric vehicles. The trial was successful. Our drivers actually prefer them.
Councillor Bill Smith next, please.
Thank you, Chair. We said we got 2 depots for chargers. Have we got any chargers up in Quatha Park? Because all the laser centres up there and machines, grass cutters.
It will at the moment. No, we got no chargers at the moment. Unit 20 is the biggest site, so if we can complete that one, then we can move to Unit 5, which is the second biggest site, and then we can move to Caparta Park, like you said, Civic. And yeah, as much as I would like to, it's hard to do them all at once. It costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time, but we will eventually get to Caparta Park.
Oh, I'll accept that, but there's a lot of machines up there. If they got to go down to Unit 5, use half the power and get to go down there, so I'm just double checking. What is the cost of running one of these vehicles? Are they much cheaper than fuel, which it would be? So what would roughly the cost, and where would the cost go? Would it off the budget? Would it be cut to a department, and the department keep the savings and use it for other things?
Yeah, as it is at the moment, we got the diesel gets, every department uses the amount of diesel waste the most. Got the most vehicles. The savings about a year ago, well, just over a year ago, was about 1/5 of the cost of diesel. So if you buy an electric vehicle, if you pay £100 a week to run it, the cost of electricity would have about 20 pounds. It was great, especially if you can move on HGVs that use about roughly around 240,000 pounds a year on diesel. So you can reduce that by 1/5. Would have been amazing. Saving about 200,000 pounds a year. Unfortunately, the price of electricity has gone to the roof in the last year, and that's reduced to about 1/3 of the cost of diesel. It's still cheaper, but it's only about 1/3. Now, the cost of electric vehicles is much higher than the diesel vehicles, but that's what the grants from Welsh Government comes in. So they pay the difference from diesel to electric. So to us, it's no different cost, but it's just cheaper to run it afterwards. So yeah, as it stands now today, is about 1/3 of the cost of diesel. So if you spend £300,000 or £300,000 a year in diesel, it will only cost us 100,000 in electricity.
Because these diesel, these electric vehicles only last about 10 years, don't they? The battery thing.
5 to 7 years.
I was just saying, so the savings what goes back in the pot to safeguard further down the line, because otherwise it's going to cost you arm and a leg again to purchase more.
Yeah, on electric vehicles, they come with warranty for 7 years, so we can extend 7 to 10 years, hopefully, the lifespan. And also with electricity, we got the opportunity to produce ourselves. I know the energy manager is looking at options to, do some like buy land for solar farm or wind, and that would be amazing if we save £400,000 a year, what we pay now in diesel in the future, if we can produce our own energy. But that will take time and a lot of investment in infrastructure.
Yeah, quite obvious, I'm not sure.
The Philip Starr.
It's just a couple of questions with regard to the challenges going forward with regard to electric vehicles. The first one, could you give some more information on how you would future-proof the charging infrastructure?
Good question. We can only presume that the chargers available now on the market, they will still be relevant in 15 years time, and not by buying the cheapest or we got to go for the most performant chargers at the moment on the market, and this one will last for 15-20 years easy. The chargers we're installing now, they're going to have the capacity up to 22 kilowatts on AC electricity and 150 on DC. Now the vehicles we got at the moment, they don't need that much. They only need about 11 out of 22, and it can only charge 60 out of 150. But we know in the future the battery is just going to go bigger, and the speed of charging is going to be faster, because that's the way that the industry is going. Future proving 100% is going to be impossible, because it's not about, nobody can say that in 2 years somebody's going to invent something new, or we can just go for the best options available at the moment in the market.
Okay, thank you.
And look at the trend on where the industry is going.
And on a similar point, those chargers that are being installed, currently working, and the others that you're going to install over the next 12 months, will they be maintained by the installation company or by the council?
Yeah, the manufacturer offer 3 years warranty with them, and after the 3 years, extend the warranty or maintenance if we wish to opt for.
So they have a 3-year warranty?
They come with 3 years warranty as they come in full maintenance.
Okay. Just one other point on the same issue about challenges. You mentioned the importance of collecting efficient data. So what kind of data are you collecting? You referred to obviously mileage as it stands. What other data would be collected by the back office then and utilised?
Well, fuel usage, because that's important to see how much we can save in the future, and translating from diesel to electric. Mileage of the vehicle, obviously. Driver feedback, that's very important. Every time we trial the vehicle, on a paper, if you go to any dealer, they'll try to sell you what they got, and they'll present it as the perfect vehicle. But until we actually try it by our crews and in our community, like I say, that data is the most important one, in my opinion. Also, the weight capacity. So electric vehicles, they got to carry a battery as well, which is quite heavy. So instead of an 18-ton vehicle, you might need to move to a 22-ton vehicles to do the same job because of the battery. So all little things like that, which got to be taken into consideration.
Okay, thanks. And just one last one, Chair, if I may. You obviously mentioned a community and you've trialled in the community. Just thinking about the general community that we've got around the streets, will they be able to tell that a vehicle is electric? I know they're very quiet, but would there be anything on the vehicle which would say, and which would give the message that Merthyr Council is becoming green in its policy with regard to its vehicles? Because I think there's a key opportunity there to demonstrate to the public that the council has moved in that direction. And if there's nothing on the vehicle to demonstrate that it is an electric vehicle, perhaps you're missing a trick there a little bit.
I agree with you totally. And since we have the first electric vehicle, we ensured that we got Merthyr a logo on it, and also 100% electric vehicle marks on it. You probably see them around the small white vans.
Yeah.
And HGVs, and all the new vehicles we're going to have will be standardized with electric vehicle County Borough Council logo on.
Okay.
Community top serve. Yeah, you're right. I think it's a great opportunity to advertise that.
Yeah, So it's a good opportunity to, you know, to push the message. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Better air quality.
Yes, Clive.
Sorry, as a result of these questions, other questions sometimes pop up. You did touch on the batteries, because I would have thought the efficiency of the batteries is even more vital with going over to electric vehicles. Would you need to keep a stock of spare batteries, you know, rather rely on ordering one with a manufacturer to come in? Because if they only last so long, as we all know, if you're driving a vehicle, battery, you might sometimes get a warning light, but sometimes it just disappears. So is that something that you'd be looking at, to keep a small stock?
No, unfortunately, they don't work like that. The battery is part, like the way you can look at it is like the gearbox and the engine. So the motor is the diesel engine, and you got the gearbox, so another fixed part of the vehicle, which is the battery. So they come with the manufacturer's warranty for 7 years.
All right.
Which means 7 years, if anything happens, you just go back to the manufacturer and say, look, you promised this battery is going to last me 200 miles. You just lost 20% for some reason. And after 3 years of usage, I don't think it's right. You should replace them, and the manufacturers will replace it.
And the replacement is not a case of waiting for weeks.
Will it be at their cost? Yes.
It'll be something that you need,
Yeah.
I would have thought, within 24 hours.
I never dealt with one before. I don't know if it's going to be 24 hours, maybe a little bit longer. So maybe we can ask for, I don't know, claim some goodwill on something from them for the time of road, or maybe they can provide the replacement. We can, you know, provide if we can need to hire one, we can claim the cost of it. After 7 years, if we believe that the vehicle is still in good order and just the battery need replacing, let's say after 8 years, we can look at pricing one and see how much it costs, and if it's worth it, we can replace it ourselves. Then, but I would have thought we can keep stock, because they're very expensive.
Right.
And not just that, the technology moves very quickly. So what cost, I don't know, £10,000 this year, maybe next year is 5. So
Yeah.
I would have thought is
Okay. You've got 40 HGVs.
Yeah.
They take longer to charge, don't they, than the smaller vehicles?
yes. So
So what would be the average time, you know, to charge a vehicle? I presume you'll have to do this when the vehicles come in. It's got to be done overnight or on the weekend.
overnight is few reasons. It's cheaper. National Grid encourage usage overnight, cheaper rate, and we got 16 hours time to do it. So our vehicles operate from 7 in the morning till about 3:30 in the afternoon. After that, we got till 7 the next day, where the vehicle is parked. HGV got about 200 kilowatts battery, which is not going to be used in a full day. Only about half, about 60% is going to be used. And the chargers have got the capacity of 22 kilowatts per hour. So if you do a short calculation, it take you 10 hours from 0 to 100. If it's only 40%, will take for each 20%, for each 10%, about an hour of charging. So we're looking at about 4 to 6 hours charge overnight on a HGV.
Right.
On a small vans, which they got battery from 40 kilowatts up to 80, like much less, about 3 to 4 hours. And the system we got, we can charge them all at the same time, starting with the one who needs the most energy, and then going to the one who.
And the other point that I think got to take into account, because you're talking about data collection, is the amount of carbon that is reduction as a result of hopefully all these vehicles becoming electric by 2025. I would have thought. Is somebody or yourself keeping an eye on that and feeding it into the carbon reduction overall, the authority?
Yes, each vehicle, we're looking at how much diesel they use per year, and then take that diesel in consideration, how much carbon would it produce, and then we can calculate easy how much we reduce the carbon emission with each vehicle replaced. I work closely with the energy manager, and we report to Welsh Government monthly
And everything you mentioned about grants.
Yeah.
A lot of this is subject to agreement with grants and the timing of it. So for the next 2 years, you have to apply, I don't know, a certain time for a grant. I don't know how long that takes, but that should be part and parcel of timeline, shouldn't it?
Yeah, but I think Councillor Hughes mentioned. Welsh Government have been very generous with any projects or any vehicles within for local authorities for that the carbon zero, like electric vehicles. I mean, in the last 2 years, I think if you want to purchase 100 electric vehicles in 1 year, we would be able to get a grant for it. So I'm guessing next year and the next couple of years will be the same. The only problem everybody's got, getting the vehicles is not that big of an issue, charging them after. I think some other local authorities got in trouble with that, spending huge amount of money on purchase electric vehicles because the grants were available, and then they end up with them parked somewhere because they can't charge them. So I believe the right strategy, which we spoke about it, and we have a strategy back in 2020 when we decided we need enough infrastructure before we purchase the vehicles. Otherwise, we might end up in a situation that we're paying for both diesel and electric, and we only can use one because the other one can't be charged. So once the charging for 46 vehicles is available, we're going to purchase at least 46 vehicles, and we can see if we don't have to charge them every night. So some of them will be every other night or every 3 nights. We can purchase up to 60 or 80 vehicles. So up to all the vans may be able to be charged in the same place using the same amount of charges. And then we can extend the charging infrastructure to the other sites.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. It's great.
Yep.
Just an associated point with regard to the costs. You know, we've talked about the fuel and the replacing the fuel with the electricity. Is there any differential between the maintenance of an electric vehicle and maintenance of a diesel vehicle? Would the costs of maintenance or the regularity of maintenance be different between those two types of vehicle?
Yes, it is different. It's much cheaper to maintain an electric vehicle than it is a diesel or a petrol vehicles because it doesn't need regular service, oil change. The electric vehicles only check the coolant gel around the battery. Apart from that, there's nothing else. It's just testing the battery and testing the electric equipment. It's about half price per year the cost of diesel.
So there will be savings with regard to the
saving with that as
maintenance
well.
of those new vehicles.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
When I got if everyone else has finished their questions, I go. Sorry, Bill, I can't see your mic.
So, it's a simple, it's a Mickey Mouse question. Who's in charge of the charger to put the points into the vehicles? Because I've been there before, and somebody has slipped up and half the vehicles have been flat. So have we got a person in charge, dedicated person, or just rely on the drivers?
Every driver, when they move from a diesel to an electric vehicle, they have full training with a qualified instructor for electric vehicle charging. For electric vehicle usage of electric vehicle, that includes charging. So they will be trained on how to put the vehicle on charge, how to take it off, and I will manage the system, the central system, to see how much energy goes in the vehicle, and each vehicle is going to have an RFID card used to activate the charger, so there won't be access to any of the chargers.
Great, thank you very much. Because I've been in companies where people forgot to put on charge and get in the 4 in the morning, suicidal. So yeah, thank you very much.
It's just like filling up with fuel, but the impact on electric vehicle will be higher because, like I said, with fuel you just pop it in a petrol station and top it up. But with the charger, it will take about half an hour, 45 minutes. So it'll take a little bit longer. That's the only difference. But yeah, reason why we're going to go for double the amount of mileage we need per day. So if something like that does happen, the vehicle can still be operated the following day, and then the same mistake can be done twice unless something goes very wrong.
Thank you. You've addressed part of my question. One of my questions, whether there was a different license, qualifications, or training required, especially for the HGVs.
Legally, the DVLA, they don't require any qualification, so you can move on from a diesel vehicle or petrol vehicle to electric, just like you move between diesel and petrol, pretty much nothing required. Is recommending a highway code that whatever you operate a vehicle that you're not familiar with to take some professional training. So we advise, well, we decided to go for all the drivers that going to move to electric to have a half of day or a full day, or if they require more longer. I know there's only the drivers that they never drove automatics. They tend to need a little bit of training. Apart from that, it's quite a standard, just familiarization, and it didn't cause any issues. But yeah, every driver will have training with a professional on how to operate and charge the vehicle.
And a follow on from that then is we quite often use agency drivers. How will this affect agency use? Will they get training as well?
Just like with everything else, we don't treat the agency drivers different than ours when it comes to training or standards. So there will be exactly the same training.
Thank you for that. You mentioned the amount of power needed to power the charging stations. Are the supply cables big enough to power the number of charging units that we are looking to put in each of the sites?
In Unit 20, no, they weren't big enough. Reason why we went to National Grid and applied for a new connection. Luckily, they granted and they completed it. They can activate it in the next couple of weeks. Same in Unit 5. So they weren't big enough. We increased the capacity.
So there's going to be new cabling.
We had two new connections in Unit 5 and Unit 20. Every other site, like in Civic or like I said, the Help Park, they don't need 4 to 5 chargers. That wouldn't be needed another connection, at least not now.
Is it only solar panels you've looked at with regard to renewable energy?
Yeah, my plan initially was to put more solar panels on sites like Unit 20, but to operate the solar panels energy directly into the electric vehicle chargers, you need storage on site. A battery quite significant in size, at least 150, maybe 120 to 200 kilowatts. Now, a battery like that costs anywhere between 150 and 250,000 pounds, and the cost is not the biggest problem. The lead time for that is about 24 months, because again, they produce abroad, and you can't get them at the moment for a very long period of time. The grant I applied for from Cardiff Capital Region included a set of storage as well, but because of the lead times, we couldn't get it, unfortunately. But yeah, in the future, hopefully that technology will be more accessible, so we can get more solar panels, get storage on site, so the solar panel is going to feed into the storage in the day, and then in the night that energy can go straight in the electric vehicles, and then will be free energy for as long as the system works.
So that would be much increased savings if that was.
Yeah, well, pretty much be free energy.
That was possible.
From £500,000 a year in diesel, I think close to we pay now, could reduce that to zero by 2035, 50 hopefully.
Sounds very positive, Ivan.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Do we have any final questions from any of the members? Any comments from the members, then please? Councillor Colburn.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, so once again, thank you very much for this. It's absolutely fascinating report, as you can tell by the number of questions that we've thrown at you. So thank you for asking them all. Back in 1985, I was a milkman for a while with an electric milk float. So I'm really glad to see the technology has now caught up from where we were in 1985. Thank you.
That technology, and they've been using it for all these years. We weren't aware of it because in Europe, was not needed. We have petrol and diesel, but I think now because of carbon emissions, we all have to move that way.
Clive.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really glad to see that we're ahead of the curve, and I think the real progress we're making here is to be applauded, frankly. For us to be in 2 years, hopefully, all the vehicles, all electric, I think is really a huge step forward. And, you know, Phil is right. I think we should be telling the public out there how far we got, what we're doing, the target date for all our vehicles, the carbon reduction that is going to be taken into account. And first and foremost is the enormous cost savings every time, you know, driver jumps into a vehicle. So keep going. Well done. Thank you.
Can I just come back to that, Clive? It won't be all the vehicle. I think it's 96, is it? By
About half,
25,
I'd say, about 60 to 80 vehicles. Hopefully.
Yeah.
The HGVs, the technology is not
later.
just there yet on all of them, like road sweepers and HGVs, but the small vans, what's available on the market.
or some, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much. You can I just say it's well done, because I think it's brilliant, this is. Like I worked in the transport industry all my life, and the diesel fumes and everything you had in certain areas, bus station, and it caused major problem. But the way you've done it, also the work you do in Unit 20, putting the charges in, and doing it regular, and it's how you planned it, it's well done. I tell you what now, because you come back to us and you're asking all these questions, and you already planned it out, and it's totally different what was done years ago. Actually, thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
But you'll have to come back now shortly, tell us where we are, and keep in touch with us, because we want to know to tell the public.
Thank you. It'll be a public event. Cardiff Capital Region, they provided funding for this project, so they will want an opening with public. So you're all invited, and then you can see a little bit more how the system works. And by then, hopefully, we'll have up to about 20 vehicles in on a fleet electric, so we can see them in action as well. Not just me telling you.
Can I just come in there? As well as the ones for the vans. If you remember, you had the email off Adam Richards the other day. So we're ahead of the curve there. So if you have a look at the areas where we be having electric chargers throughout the community. So in fairness to Johan and Adam and the team, we ahead of a lot of the other authorities.
Yeah, I believe from 3 years when we started, we only there were only 4 electric vehicle chargers in Merthyr, which was Asda, Tesco, the hotel down in Retail Park, and that was about it. So I think we're going the right track now, catching up with the rest, actually going ahead.
Thank you very much, Johan. I'd like to thank you for sharing your expertise with us. You've enlightened the committee today, and it's great to see that there's sound future planning involved around this aspect of the county borough. Thank you very much. On that note, you may leave.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
They should you in. I think that was very enlightening. Yeah, those nice. We've got 2 large buildings down there. I mean, but the best of it, it's got to be south. It's best if it's south facing, isn't it? So we move on to agenda item 5, Scrutiny Work Programme 22-23. Bear with me for a second. Oh, yeah. Um, we will be looking at a workshop on the self-evaluation report. That's likely to be around the 22nd of May. Sorry, the 20th of, yeah, my apologies. 20th of April, the workshop, and it's likely to go to the 22nd of May scrutiny meeting.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't think my mic is working, but if I remember right, I think I booked committee room 2. But and there's further confirmation with regards to the workshop and due course.
On that day on the committee, we did ask a question about environmental health and litter picking a couple of meetings ago, and we asked information on do we change our bins because they're not recycling bins being waste because they're not doing the job. Because after this morning, most of our streets, with the wind blowing, the rubbish about unbelievable. No, people took me off to clean around my area this morning because the rubbish was blowing all over the shop. Can we put that in our some sort of answer after can we change it or we can't change it of the Welsh Government? Because we've got to start looking into it because it's double mess. You've got the litter pickers go around every 10 days. Some are not picked up for a week if the community don't pick it up. So we've got to start doing something to readdress it.
What we'll do is we'll look at that topic and get back to you as quickly as we can and see if we can get a report back.
Okay.
But, well, let's just see what happens.
Let's have a look at it because it's after this morning. I tell you something. I don't know if wherever the recycling was, it's not doing the area this morning. The rubbish about the recycling piece. I'm very sorry for the boys this morning.
Clive?
And I think if you're going to chat to the officers before I'm coming back to us, we need to look at the type of equipment that we use, because to add what Bill has already said, I mean, they've just replaced, certainly where I live, the blue bags, because obviously they don't last forever. But in this wind, if there's nothing in it, it's goodness knows where. And that's happening everywhere. I going traveling on the Brecon Road this morning, and a blue bag in the middle of the road. Traffic both ways, trying to avoid. Nobody stopped the vehicle to pick it up and put it on the pavement. So it's things like that that we need to look at. I think, though, I know we had grants, etc., years ago to set this up, but the system that we've got, and there's no blame whatsoever on the workforce, because I happen to think they're doing a fantastic job. But the equipment that we've got definitely needs to be looked at. And whatever the officers say, if there are barriers to that, we need to know what they are. But we cannot go on like we are at the moment. Particularly when you've got different systems, you've got the boxes, then you've got the 3-in-1
Stackers.
The stackers. You know, and most of the people that from what I see, are still using the boxes. The covers disappeared, the plastic covers, years ago. So if you put this anywhere, in the back garden or by your front door, in this weather, the litter will be lifted and it's all over the place. So it's got to be looked at.
I think Paul Davis partly addressed this a couple of meetings ago. and we were told that there were shower caps available, but that's if you
Chair,
put them on it.
Chair, exactly. I've spoken to residents galore and said, look, you can have this shower cap. Oh, I don't want that. By the time I fiddle about fitting that on, it's come off. So that I don't think is the answer. I got a few of these spare in the garage. Nobody wants them. So we are.
Great comment. We will take that forward and see and get the officers here with whatever suggestions they've got.
Chair, if you get in touch with either Paul Jones and ask him, because the team leader of the beggars got photographs of where they done recycling this morning, with photographs in certain streets in Bandaran and the Guinness. Ask him to have a copy. Perhaps we can show what they look like, because people aren't going to recycling today. I think we told our nonsense. But Pandaran and top part of the Guinness, terrible state. They just rubbish from wherever the wind was blowing. It was catching the boxes across the road and swinging them across the other side.
And I agree with you. The problem in the Toyne area this morning was the recycling isn't until tomorrow. It's been put out over the weekend. Is it? Yeah.
When they filmed it, he was there for a couple of hours.
This is an knock-on effect, and the other part is
a big one, a big trampoline right outside Cutting Coombe.
And the other one is the bins. The winds are blowing across Guinness Road. Guinness Road's so busy, right? As they dodge them, they can cause accidents. That's another issue.
I'm not protecting them, but if they can blow, if the wind can blow a trampoline around, what size bin do you want, Bill?
I don't need a bin. I'd rather go back to old plastic bags, to be honest with you, and have different colours there. I was against them years ago, but at the end of the day, people is protected. The environment is cleaner with them. Right? Don't get me wrong.
Well, we'll have the officer observations on that point, and we'll ask them.
Because I'm afraid if a bin damaged somebody's car, the wind caught, who would they claim off? Would it be off the council or would it be off the residents? Yeah, but I'm concerned about.
We got a bigger bags as well, but the green waste can still collect in a plastic bag. You put it out.
But there was going to change that and stop us using plastic bags in the terrain unless we can readdress it.
Can't use them. Can't use plastic bags. You haven't got anything.
They do.
Councillor Colburn.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. No, just to totally agree with everything that everybody said, particularly Clive. The blue bags just aren't fit for purpose. We all know that. We all accept it. Every time a resident complains to me, I know you're right. I can't argue with you. And we really need to look at this again and find a better way of doing this, because yes, we all want to recycle as much as we possibly can, and we all encourage that, but there's got to be a better way of doing it than what we're doing at the moment.
So we'll get the officers in. Any further comments regarding that? Questions? Yeah,
That's all right.
Yeah, we're just knocking something over.
We're still on the forward work programme, aren't we?
We are indeed.
Yes.
Because the very last page there, we've got additional items for consideration, nappy waste. Yeah, I thought you were. Feedback from residents in relation to highways and road maintenance. And I think a third needs to be added there, because I'm on the regeneration and housing scrutiny committee. If you haven't been already, Chair, I think you will be approached by Councillor Lee Davis about having a joint meeting about the unsolvable problem at the moment of litter being on private.
Yeah.
If it's the last thing I do before I leave this chamber is to crack that one, because it cannot go on like it is at the moment. So I know we have referred to it here, and it's been referred into the Regeneration Housing Committee, but we want to have a joint meeting because we heard a story a few months, sometime last year, that it was going to be transferred back, and they were looking at it. Absolutely nothing has happened. And I'll just give you one example. On Brecon Road, there is the other side, if you know where Pauline's, their addresses are, just go up a few yards, and there's a plot of vacant land there that had planning permission to put a block of flats on there. Crikey, must have been 2 years ago. That owner is gone now, and gentleman who's, I won't refer to his name, but he doesn't live a few yards away from there, who owns the site. And I've written, first of all, to the planning committee, because they've got powers there, to find out, because there's been planning permission, what's happened. There's litter, there's dog feces on the ground. This morning I noticed, talking about bins, there's a bin, black bin, flown across the road, and is there in the middle of it. And there was fencing around it. The fencing was blown down a year ago, 18 months ago. Didn't get any with planning, so I thought, I know what to do now. And hopefully to sort it out. I'll ring, I'll contact, I sent an email to Environmental Health. You would have thought there was a few public health situations there. And that would be, they'll deal with it, because where it came from, the complaint, was the owner of a holiday let immediately across the road. Right, and there's lots of these holiday lets all over the county borough now. And few of the people who had the holiday let complained to the owner that what they were facing was this land opposite them. And they said to him, we ain't coming back here ever again. And the answer I got back from the Environmental Health Department was, it's not a public health issue. So I let them know in the strongest possible terms. I sent the email yesterday. They've had it this morning. I wasn't satisfied with that reply. But that's an example where it's happening all over the place. You try and explain to the members of the public or residents who live slap bang next to these that yes, we can do something to help to clear the litter on the road or the pavement, but we can't do anything about the litter on these private vacant plots. It's got to be dealt with. So, Councillor Lee Davis, we've raised this in the Regeneration Scrutiny Committee. So hopefully sometime in the near future, we'll have a joint meeting with all the officers there, because this has got to be sorted out once and for all.
You a special Clive?
Well, I think it'll have to be, Bill. It'll have to be a date and the ones venue arranged.
Can we go for a special meeting?
Well, it's down to the scrutiny. We're only invited into it.
You've done as soon as possible, myself.
I will contact Lee and get it arranged as soon as possible.
Yeah. So you talk about a joint meeting, whether that be a joint scrutiny or a joint workshop, but we need to get together to try and sort it out.
Yeah, I just want to mirror what Clive was saying, so I'm aware of the meeting you're on about. Because Anna Price-Williams also contacted me in Declan as well to say that he wanted to be addressed. Is she public protection? Is it in public? Yeah. So we just agreed that with Chair, and if Lee Davis agrees, we could all because I think it rolls over to more than one scrutiny. This isn't just one area. Everybody got the same problem. It does. It does. Thank you, Chair.
Well,
He's on the same page that Clive referred to. I thought he was going to refer to this, but that second bullet point, which is on that page, seems to have slipped in. I've not seen that before on the forward work programme. It's the one that says feedback from resident survey in relation to highways and road maintenance. Now, that seems to have appeared on that forward work programme without us having any indication of what that survey actually asked and what the results were, what the feedback was. So I wonder whether anyone knows anything about that, because it's appeared on this as an additional item for consideration.
I'm equally at a loss to you.
I might keep working. I'm still looking into that. Still to find out where that had come from. So obviously once I do know,
Okay, thanks. See, nappy waste is still there. We haven't made any progress with regard to that.
There's a comment about that a little later in the report. Move on into item 6. Did we address the recommendations in the report? Do we believe we've added value? Which is a bit awkward for this one when it was a presentation. Malcolm.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, obviously there weren't any recommendations in the report, but I think that's the most interesting, informative report I can remember coming to scrutiny for a long time. It was, so I think we all really enjoy receiving that report. So in that respect, yeah, I think we definitely.
I can only agree with you. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Any other comments with regard to that?
He explained everything. We'll go in. He's saving a lot of his money. The idea is there. If it can work, it'll work. And fingers crossed, I would say, because time changes. And, they promise the world, and sometimes it don't work. Sometimes it do. So I'm hoping it works for us.
And excellent future planning as well, which
Yeah.
was welcome when there's a potential for further savings, further big savings with renewables. Item 7, feedback on scrutiny activities, any outstanding actions, feedback from workshops, task and finish groups, inquiries, etc. An email was sent recently following request to put to cabinet member about increasing weed spraying schedule to twice a year. It's come back that future weed spraying will be done twice a year, once in the early part and once later. So that's a positive outcome for this scrutiny. And I've also contacted someone from Welsh Government for an update on their position with regard to absorbent hygiene products, waste absorbent hygiene products. I haven't had a response back to that yet, but that's one I've got to chase up to see what the national policy and idea is going forward. Other business deemed urgent by the chair, I have none. And on that note, I declare this meeting over, and thank you very much for attending and your questions